Happy Tuesday, everybody. We are live with the Fantasy Football Buzz podcast. We have got Cyclop. We have got Keith, our 2020 Keith, as you put in your little banner there. And I'm the commish, and we are here to work with everybody, talk about fantasy football, get everybody ready for their big draft. Some of you have already had a draft, and now you want to talk about who you're going to start week one. Well, we're here tonight to do a few of those things. We're going to talk about some of the games over the weekend, what news is fantasy worthy? Who do we care about? We're also going to do rounds 4 through 6 of our mock draft, starting to get into the meat of the draft. Some of the picks that could go either way, and we're going to help you with those decisions. And if we have time, we're going to do a segment called Teammates, and it's a would you rather, right? Would you rather have which guys on which teams? We'll talk about that a little further on. In the meantime, guys, why don't you say hello, Cyclop 2020? How you guys doing tonight?
Doing awesome up here in the DC area. Wish I could say it was to go to the camps up here, but it is not. I actually have another job. This isn't paying enough yet.
This isn't your full-time job,
but we'll get there. But doing great, feeling good. Had some football. I don't know if I'd call it how much football we had over the past weekend, but at least it's on.
That's right.
Yeah, I mean, it was exciting. Listen, we broke ground. We cut the ribbon. We started preseason. There's some interesting things to take a look at, some interesting battles that are happening in some key positions. But listen, bottom line is we're on our way. We're in motion. The train has left the building, so it's kind of cool.
How many more?
I stopped there. That was it. I was stopping there.
All right. Well, like I had said in the advertisements leading up to tonight's show, we're also here to answer any questions. So we will break in the middle of whatever we're doing for you guys. So if any of you have a question, give us a call, 772-800-BUZZ or 2899. You can also comment in Facebook Live, YouTube Live, and we will read those comments live on air, and we will give you our best opinions. They may not be the right opinions, but we will do the best we can to help answer any of your fantasy questions. And that's a little something that we want to talk about too, which is, do we know more than anybody else when it comes to fantasy? A lot of times we like the idea of the group dynamic, right? We just want someone to either agree with us, disagree with us, tell us we're wrong, that we're more interested in Austin Eckler than we are in Antonio Gibson, and we want confirmation of that.
And it's good to hear perspectives as to why. For some people, listen, everyone has their different level of going down the rabbit hole in making their fantasy decisions. How much information are you getting? Where are you doing your digging? And that's where, what do we got? Like between the three of us, almost 90 years worth of experience of fantasy football combined. We go beyond just. We know that, Austin Eckler is a good running back. We look at what's going on with their offensive lines. We look at what's going on in the team, what's going on with the quarterback, what's going on with the defense and the schedule. We weigh it all together. And then something? All that doesn't mean shit a lot of times because so much of this boils down, honestly, to luck, injuries, and just weird play and dynamics. But all you can do is take all of that information and with that, make your best, most educated decision. So we try to give information that you might not think about as relevant. And that's where 90 years of experience comes in. And like you said, Kamish, look, we're all in multiple leagues, but we all still call each other each week to hash things out. Sometimes you just got to hear a different voice on it because you make yourself crazy. So Excellent point. Well said, Kamish.
All right. So we had a lot of games this past weekend. Guys, were any of them fantasy worthy? Did we learn anything? Is anything going to change in your rankings as a result of this past weekend's games?
Yes. Go ahead. You go ahead, Cyclops.
I will tell you, and you say yes. I say for the moment, there is very little that's going to change in the rankings. There's a couple players here and there. I know you just mentioned it before where Myles Gaskin is kind of getting pushed out a little bit at the moment. And other running backs, Ahmed and Brown are in. You got to remember this is preseason, and I think 75% of the teams didn't even play. They're not even going to play a starter. So people that you're getting that may look good, they may be looking good against backups. So where does that leave, what you're deciding at this point? My best guess is any teams that are going to play their starters are going to be week 2, right? It's going to be more like week 3 of a normal 4-week preseason. And then after that, you can start to maybe adjust your pickups, or not your pickups, your draft spots and your ADPs. But until then, I just, there's obviously some quarterback controversies out there. There's some running backs. There's some running backs that are getting put in the back seat a little bit right now, like Melvin Gordon and, some of those guys. So, and even David Johnson. So there's a lot to keep an eye on, but I don't want to put too much into week 1 of preseason.
Well, let me tell you why I said that. So there was a bit of discussion as to how do we view Jonathan Taylor with Carson Wentz going down. Granted, it was one game and it's preseason, but a lot of times when you see quarterbacks come out and going against first team defenses, you can often tell if quarterbacks have command, if they're decisive and they can put the ball on the money. And let me tell you something. I was impressed with both Jacob Eason and Erlinger out of Indianapolis. And this is a banged up offensive line that has a little concern in Indy. And I got to tell you something. Erlinger put some balls on the money. I was really impressed. I stopped. Seriously, stop.
I got two words for you.
What?
John Beck. There are quarterbacks who are going to look like world beaters in preseason. I understand that that's not your point. I understand you're not saying go ahead and draft Eason. I understand you're saying you want to look at the dynamic with Taylor. So I understand where you're going with that.
I feel a little better about Taylor.
Right. You might feel a little better about Taylor as a result of this because they're going to have a quarterback.
Right.
But yeah, I just wanted, to bring out the fact that, look, Trevor Lawrence, he was slinging the ball. He was looking like, somebody who's gonna make it. And then, but which receivers are gonna make it? We're gonna have probably 3 Jaguar receivers drafted before you have, 1 wide receiver for the Jets drafted. So
I don't know. Elijah Moore is.
I'm just saying. My point is, we're not getting any kind of clarification in the preseason,
right? Yeah.
All right.
But so with game 1, things are starting to come into a little bit of focus.
We have a question. Why don't we get to that? You want to throw that up there, Seth? Or?
It was for a second. I'll bring it back up. Yeah.
Okay. What I don't understand here, what are you asking us? So you have starting wide receivers of Woods, Ayuk, and Chase. Okay. Those are good. Woods I would consider a 1, Ayuk a 2, Chase a 2/3. Now you're asking Carson and Brown as your others, or A-Rob and Juju or Samuel?
I think this must be a keeper question.
Well, it's a PPP.
No, it's a redraft.
It says.
Oh, he says it's redraft. Okay.
If you're saying
running back, 3 wide receivers that you start is what it is. So Carson and Marquise Brown versus A-Rob.
And Juju. Would you want Chris Carson? I guess he's asking, would you want Chris Carson and Marquise Brown or A-Rob and Juju
or Samuel?
Or Curtis Samuel? Okay.
I don't know what your running back situation will look like if you don't have Carson. If we're looking strictly at these receivers, and if I was going to put them in some type of order, obviously Allen Robinson is the class of this group here. Right. Robinson is going to be better than Woods. He's going to be better than Ayuk. He's going to be better than Chase. He's going to be better than Samuel. He's going to be better than Hollywood. Okay. The question is, I don't know if you're asking for how many of these receivers, or are you suggesting you're going to grab a running back and a receiver versus having those extra receivers? So,
is this his team?
Well,
I don't know.
If it's a redraft,
it says his starting.
Yeah, if this is a redraft league, this has to be his team.
It says my starting wide receivers are Woods, Ayuk, and Chase. So I don't really understand the question. We're trying to.
I think he's asking who to start.
If you hear us, try to restate the question, and we'll try to help you out.
Well, to me, if it's a redraft league, to me it can only be this is his team.
Okay.
And he's asking who to start.
Hold on. I'm asking if I should.
Oh, here we go. I'm asking if I should trade Carson and Brown My running backs are Henry. Oh.
Okay, got you.
So, yes, if you can trade Carson and Marquise, for who, though?
For Carson and Brown, my running backs are Henry. Oh, I guess it's for A-Rob.
To get A-Rob and Juju?
Juju.
I wouldn't think twice about it.
Are you kidding me? Yeah. Oh, my
Already
God.
having Henry and Aaron Jones and Mixon, absolutely. That's a no-brainer. And I
do
would
that trade and invite me into your league.
Yeah, I would get Robinson. I would get Robinson and Juju, not Robinson and Samuel, for sure.
Correct. Definitely.
Yeah.
Correct.
I don't know. I mean, my opinion, and we'll talk about it when we get to teammates. Curtis Samuel is going to be a bit of a focus on that offense. And, Juju, yes, he might have 700 yards. He might have 10 touchdowns, but I do not see the upside, right? I was talking to Jonah about his draft, and I'm like, why did you get this person? Or why? He goes, because I don't want to be second place. He's like, if I'm going to be second place, I might as well be 10th place. So in his opinion, I'm going to shoot for the moon. I'm going to grab the guys that are going to make a difference. And you know what? If I'm wrong and I fail and I didn't do it right, then fine. Then I'll be 10th instead of second. But if I'm going to sit here and I'm going to just take Juju in hopes that I can get 7 points a week, you're not going to win. But if you grab someone like Curtis Samuel, who could, by the way, and he has a much higher ceiling, in my opinion, than Juju does, you have a better shot at going to that next level.
Bringing tin cup mentality to fantasy football.
Yeah, that certainly makes sense. I'm not sold on Samuel like a lot of, as him being this breakout guy in Washington.
Right.
I just don't see it. To me, those players, I think Juju honestly has the bigger upside.
I think so as well. Because Big Ben, his arm just doesn't have that same downfield strength, and that's really Claypool and Deontay area. Juju is the over the middle guy, and in a PPR league, if you're grabbing 6-7 balls a game, that's 6-7 points right there. Then you add the yards with it, so. I would actually agree with that. I would rather.
And Kyle, yes, Kyle, take Allen Robinson, and even if it is Samuel instead of Juju. In fact, if that deal was just Allen Robinson, I'd probably take that deal. So yes, Kyle, and thank you, and Kyle, we appreciate the question, and just like Kyle, if anyone out there wants to ask us a question, go ahead and give us a call 772-800-BUZZ, or go ahead and comment like Kyle did in the comment section of Facebook Live or YouTube Live, and we will get to it right on the air. Now, back to some of these preseason games, guys. I mean, we started to say we didn't really see much, right? Like the whole thing with Jacksonville, since we were talking about it, Robinson has 3 carries, Travis Etienne has 1 carry. We learned nothing, right? We have no idea. We also don't know if it's going to be Shenault. Is it going to be Marvin Jones? We don't know.
Shark. I mean,
it's right. Yeah. So, unfortunately, all we can do right now is enjoy the preseason games, knowing that real football is coming soon, is just pray for no injuries, or that the guys that you're looking at are not getting injured. Was there something else in preseason, guys, that you all saw that, and I know you touched on the Myles Gaskin, Malcolm Brown thing. And again, I don't want to put too much weight into that. I think we need to wait. Let's see what happens this coming weekend. As well,
I will tell you that not that they were super low or super high, but the Denver team, no matter who the quarterback is going to be, there's going to be some very fantasy valued players on that team. You got Hamler, you have Javonte Williams, who's moving up boards because Melvin Gordon you don't think he's going to hold up, and Javonte Williams looks really good.
He looks very good.
So he's getting first team reps.
Well, he's getting first team reps because they know what Melvin Gordon can do.
Right.
True.
It's a known quantity. Right.
So, but I just think, and Noah Fant, they're saying, is having a great camp, and he looks good, and he's been kind of.
He led the team in receiving last year. He actually had the most receptions on the team last year. Yeah.
And so there's going to be a lot of fantasy relevant players on that team as it looks, no matter who the quarterback is. But the quarterback probably won't be.
I'll tell you, I thought that, I don't want to say rookies, but the rookies / young quarterbacks showed a little bit of something. Again, we're talking about preseason, but you know what? When you see a first-team offense going against a first-team defense, and yes, a diluted scheme, diluted games, there are some things that you can pick up on. And I'll start just with a homer, pick because, I watched the full game. But I got to tell you something. Tua looked much better. He looked like a guy that was comfortable. He was getting the ball out quickly. He was dancing around in the pocket, made good decisions, minus one bad throw. But the guy had 8 completions in a row, and something, he went downfield. So that's going to speak well. It's going to speak well for Mike Gesicki. From a fantasy standpoint, you saw a real nice connection there. And he went to the tight, not just Mike Gesicki, he went to the tight end. So that's going to tell you, with Gesicki starting there, that could be an interesting fantasy option at tight end in the late middle rounds. I'm not saying go grab Tua, but I think Gesicki, Jalen Waddle is going to be interesting.
I don't think there's anything wrong with the idea of grabbing Tua, to be honest with you.
Late rounds, absolutely. Late rounds. There's just so many quarterbacks out there that, and Justin Fields, I got to tell you, this guy, I think you've got a quarterback controversy there. You keep hearing it's Nagy's all about Dalton.
I don't think it's a controversy.
You think it's going to be Jay?
I don't know if it'll be week 1, but I don't think it'll take very long if Dalton does start. It won't be long before Fields is in there.
Yes. So, I mean, the kid, he was going against second stringers, but man, does he he might be the fastest quarterback in football. And he put the ball downfield. I was impressed with what I saw.
I saw going in that same game, and going back to Tua, I wanted to throw up this picture real quick.
Yeah.
Well, no, this is important. This is the interception. Right?
Yeah.
But take a look at that lane and look at Mac Hollins and how wide open he is, and Tua hesitated.
Yeah.
Had he thrown the ball right then and there, touchdown. I don't think there's a question.
No.
So he's getting there, but he's not there yet.
Yeah, he was eyeing down Jalen Waddle. Yeah.
To not make this throw, and this one turns into an interception, that's a problem. But I'm not making any, I'm not worried. I'm not, it's an interesting play. It's interesting to see this, but you know what? He's going to learn from this, I hope.
He's going to learn from it, exactly.
I think the biggest issue right now with Tua is Parker's banged up. Hearns is going to be out now. He's going to be out.
Fuller,
Fuller is going to miss the first several
Preston.
Weeks. It's like all these people, and what's going to happen when you throw Waddle in there, and he might do great, but he's also a rookie, right? And like Albert Wilson, you're going to rely on. That's where it could turn into an issue with Tua.
So we have a question here, which is: would you take a tight end in a PPR in the top 5 rounds, considering the drop off after the top 4 or 5 tight ends are gone? So I'm assuming in this question, what's being asked is, you're in the 5th round, within the top 5 rounds, would you grab one of these top guys? I got to tell you, I think we will all agree, it depends on who and where. If you're telling me I can get Kelsey or Kittle like in the 3rd round, which isn't going to happen, I don't know that I would take them in the 2nd round. Me personally, no. Other people probably would. Maybe Kelsey, because he's like a wideout. Late 2nd round, depending, possibly. But me, I generally don't do that. I don't go big or high up, use early round picks on tight ends. I'd rather wait and get a value guy like a Noah Fant, a Gesicki, an Irv Smith, a Logan Thomas in Washington. So to me, that's a no.
I would say if you can – go ahead. Commissioner.
I just think that we're talking about PPR, and if we're talking about a 10-team PPR versus a 12-team, it does make a difference here. I think if you are number 10, you're coming around the corner, I think it's okay to take Kelsey there. I think Kelsey is that guy. He's a difference maker. He's going to make your team. And if it's PPR, he's going to get the catches. He's going to get the yards. He's going to get the touchdowns. I don't have a problem grabbing Kelsey at 10 and coming back around and grabbing, an Eckler, Aaron Jones, or somebody like that who might be falling to 11, or switch it up, 11 and 10, 11. But if you're talking now about coming around and getting Darren Waller or George Kittle, which would be the only 3, in my opinion, that would be relevant in the top 5 rounds, then I'm waiting, like Keith said, okay? If you're going to grab Waller, it would have to be at the end of the 2nd. I wouldn't do it personally. some people like the idea of tight ends and PPR. My only problem with that is that you are losing potential running backs and wide
Right.
receivers. Now, remember, in PPR, guys, the running back gets devalued just a little bit, right? And the receivers, the tight ends, they get valued a little higher. So if you want to grab a Waller at the end of the second, beginning of the third, fine. Just make sure that you have a contingency plan for what's going to happen later in the draft. And it's the same thing for people who take quarterbacks early, right? You're giving up
Right.
that spot.
Yeah, that hurt me last year. You know, I look at this and say, that especially in the top 5 rounds, those top 3 or 4 tight ends are all difference makers on their team. You know, Kittle and Waller and Kelsey. So if you can get one of those top guys and not hurt your team too much, absolutely go after them, because especially if you have a starting tight end league, right? Some leagues combine tight ends and wide receivers, so it's not as important. But those guys, the value you're getting at that position, getting some of these tight ends getting 70, 80, 90 points more, or even 100 over the season than, tight ends that might be in the 6 to 10 range. That value there over the season, let's say 8 to 10 points a game, is a big difference maker.
Okay, at least for the most part, we agree on that.
Hallelujah.
Okay, so we'll leave the weekend behind us. Let's talk about next Tuesday. We'll talk about the games this coming weekend, because I think they're going to have a little more impact. We've got people coming back. Barkley starting to come back. We got people who are getting healthier. We're going to start seeing more of these players in preseason, and we'll start to get a better idea. You remember how it used to be, guys, that the last preseason game had scrubs because they were trying to determine who's going to make the 53, right? Well, they have a different system now. So we're not really sure how teams are looking at these preseason games with one less preseason game.
Right.
And are they going to just sit their starters until the beginning and treat week 1 almost like a preseason game?
Right. Or is week 2, we've always known, the way it's been forever, was the third preseason game was the dress
rehearsal.
The dress rehearsal. That's exactly what I was looking for. Dress rehearsal. Starters are in for almost an entire half. Is that what we can expect out of this week coming up, week 2? I would think probably yes, because like you said, they need that last preseason game. That is a casting call of who's making the team. So I honestly think this next week, this is probably the biggest auditions from a fantasy perspective, where you're going to, if you haven't made up your mind on anything, where you're really going to get the best taste of what these players could possibly look like going into the season. You're probably going to get the most starter playing time in this upcoming weekend of football.
Right. But a lot of teams have said, we're just not playing our starters the whole preseason. So you really just don't know, right? You're going to have to go on. And the players that aren't playing, there's one instance, and I know I brought him up either last week or the week before, and you guys are going to laugh, but they came out and said Brian Edwards in Vegas,
yeah,
is not even going to play preseason. He's getting like starter treatment.
Yeah, I heard that.
And he's playing over. He looks like he's going to be the starter over Brown, and so he'll be opposite, whoever. But a guy like that, they're saying has such an amazing camp. What do you do with him? You're not going to see him in preseason because they're not going to play him. Obviously, he's still not going to be high on people's draft boards, but are they going to give him a little bit of love just because he's going to be a starter because he's not playing? It's almost like reverse. You're not getting to see any of these guys.
So I have an interesting question for you guys. I know, again, we use preseason as a tool, but a small tool. But again, we do use it for some value in our drafting. So I have an interesting question for you guys. What 3 players right now are you guys auditioning? Meaning, who are you kind of keeping a keen eye on to see how they do this preseason to help you in making a decision coming into this upcoming fantasy, all your drafts that you're doing? I mean, we all have certain guys in our head that we're interested in. But what 3 guys are you really auditioning this preseason?
are you considering the preseason games or just the
Yeah.
preseason?
Everything, the training camp, what you've heard at a training camp, but mostly, yes, right now in action.
I'll give you one, and he's a superstar, but Barkley.
Interesting.
Okay, coming off the injury, he's now back at practice. He did 7-on-7s, and then he didn't do the 11-on-11s, but he's back to practice. We still have 2-3 weeks before the first game, right? So where do you move him? Obviously, he's going to be in the top 10 of most drafts. I understand that. But does he move up to number 3? Does he move up over Henry? Because he's going to get a lot of catches as well. Right?
I will tell you that even if Barkley was healthy, given his past and not having had a lot of time to practice and to work out and to be ready, I would still draft Henry and Zeke before I would draft Barkley. And absolutely. I would, depending on the format, would draft possibly Kamara, possibly even Taylor, depending if it's PPR or how you want to look at it. But yes, is he still top 10 for me? Yes. Is he top 5? Possibly. But I think we have to wait. But you're right. That is somebody to keep an eye on. I wanted to see some type of separation in that clump that is Clyde Edwards-Helaire, DeAndre Swift, Carson, Dobbins, Henderson, Montgomery. That grouping, right? We all know that grouping. That's the third, fourth round grouping, maybe second round, even end of second round. I wanted to see
late second to fourth. Yeah.
Right. I wanted to see some separation there, but it doesn't look like we're going to really be able to see much. During the
you're going to get with all those guys. I think you're just going to it's like put them in a hat and pick one out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because again, preseason, because coaches aren't really going to play them that much in preseason. Like the things to, like, for example, for me, I wanted to see quarterback play out of Indy for my interest in possibly Jonathan Taylor, especially having the number 5 pick. Or I kind of wanted to see what was going on in Chicago because I've got possibly some interest in David Montgomery and or Allen Robinson. So I wanted to see how good Fields was looking. And Dalton, you know what you're going to get with Dalton. So little things like that. By the way, it's also interesting in a major turn of events, if you ask me, they're talking about Carson Wentz possibly week 1. Yeah. I mean, wow. Yeah, you saw that, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, I mean, obviously we'll see what happens there. Things like that. And then interesting little things that different narratives that are coming out of preseason that you didn't really see, but like things, who's that one receiver? Quentin, what was his name? He had a 90-yard touchdown, and he was lighting up camp. I can't remember what team he was on. We're a great source of information here. But little things like that. So that and of course Tua. I mean, honestly, to me, as Tua goes, is so indicative of how many fantasy players, and not to be Homer, but listen, Gesicki, Waddle, Parker, who gets a lot of catches in a PPR league. These are all guys that are fantasy relevant that are only going to be as good as Tua is, and or Gaskin, what have you. So little things like that, I'm really looking to see what's going on in the preseason, how it's going to play out.
All right, I see that we have another comment. Anybody interested in discussing that at all?
Not really.
Okay.
All right, we will skip that. I think somebody is concerned that Brad is doing his Fred Durst impression, and that Brad should...
And just so you know, in my very, very, very early 50s.
What did he say? Yeah, in your early 50s. Oh, that's so
I wanted to see
okay.
the comment. I'm in full screen. Okay.
All right.
Part of it is it's NC State, where I just dropped my my kid off last weekend, and I know Seth, I'm Wolfpack. You're an Owl. I don't know who's winning that battle, but.
All right. Well, let's do this, guys. Let's talk about our mock draft from a few weeks ago.
I just read the comment. Now I understand.
You're a little late to the party there.
Well, I'm full screen.
I actually love the dude's name as well, and I think we need to put it up. because Mr. Smith, as I will call him, was concerned about the way that Brad was wearing his hat. Turn your hat around and wear it like an adult. Mr. Smith, lots of respect. And I will tell you that Brad will be getting a lot of crap about this in the future.
You're welcome on any time.
Brad says cowabunga.
Who is that?
Dude, you have to call it, whoever you are. Could you call it? By the way, I've seen him say cowabunga, and it is not pretty.
You have not. Not recently.
Well, yes, he watched. He said it right after he finished watching Legally Blonde.
All right, I think we have a new hero. All right, let's get back to our mock draft, guys. We did our first 3 rounds. We were team number 7. I don't want to discuss too much the first 3 rounds, but just to recap, we grabbed Aaron Jones at that spot. We came back around. We had the choice of Calvin Ridley or Austin Eckler. Given the fact that we were not going to pick again until near the end of the 3rd round, we figured there may not be another running back available, so we grabbed a running back there. And then coming back around, we have Keenan Allen. So now we're in a position, guys, where we're going to be starting 2 running backs, 2 receivers. Let me remove this Bandy's thing here. 2 running backs, 2 receivers, a tight end, a flex. So where do we go at this point? Let me make the get rid of. Oh, good. Thank you. Appreciate that. We got Loopy. I'm bringing Belt Loops in because Belt just saved us. Thanks for taking down the overlay. We appreciate it. We were hoping that maybe you were Mr. Smith, but I guess not.
I'm not Mr. Smith, and he just actually made another comment, and I don't know if I should put it up or not.
Oh, I gotta see this. Hold on.
Yep.
Yeah, no, I doubt that as well. Okay, let's.
We might have to strike that one from the record. All right, go ahead.
Yeah.
So
okay,
here we are, round 4.
Round 4. What are we doing? Are we going? Let's take a look at what's our best available. Right now, they're suggesting Chris Carson or DeAndre Swift, or do we go with the wide receiver? Look, if you wanted to be that guy,
I was just going to say
Josh
it. I
Allen
want to be that guy. I want to be that guy in the 4th round right here to grab. I mean, you got 2 guys that are just separate from everyone else right now, and Mahomes and Allen, and there's going to be another one of these running backs that you want coming back around. So I think you grab one of the top 2. You have that first tier, and Allen and Mahomes are interchangeable right now with their production, and then come back around. We're still going to get a decent running back. So me personally, I would grab Allen.
Time out. We're not going to get a decent running back. We don't need a running back. We need a wide receiver. We need
another wide receiver.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Yes.
It's all right. So we know there won't be a running back. So at this point, if you go with a quarterback or a tight end, you are accepting the fact that you're going to have a wide receiver as a flex and a half PPR.
Right.
Right? So you're looking to sacrifice Mike Evans, Robert Woods, Amari Cooper, Chris Godwin for Josh Allen at this point, when the difference between someone like a Josh Allen and Dak Prescott, Aaron Rodgers, Justin Herbert, Russell Wilson, who will be available in the 5th round, is not as great.
See, but to me, Josh Allen, the numbers he put up, if you look at the difference, were so significant, and you're going to come back around, and I'm very happy getting a Cooper Kupp right here. Or one of those guys coming back around. And there's still other running backs that can still be had. You wait a little bit, a Chase Edmonds that you can put in your flex or stuff like that. So, I mean, to me, and again, everyone's different. You could be a little safer, but I personally in the 4th round here would probably go after. And again, you guys choose as you like. Would pull that trigger in the 4th round here.
I would definitely take one, because those top 2 guys are not going to be there coming back, but there will be still a pretty good values in wide receiver coming back.
Right. They're all lumped together. This next middle tier of receivers, a ton of them. I've been still liking Adam Thielen, who's out there and is going to get you 90 grabs. There's just so many out there. So
okay, so using your logic, if I'm going to sacrifice a better wide receiver for a worse wide receiver later, then I'm grabbing DeAndre Swift here and putting him in my flex.
Not taking quarterback?
And not taking quarterback till later. But again, I'm being overruled here, it sounds like. So we'll go ahead and we'll grab Josh Allen, right, Brad? That's what you and Keith both said?
I'm fine with Al. I would have, Allen or Mahomes.
And by the way, guess what? DeAndre Swift is still available.
Yeah, I don't know how realistic that is, guys.
Well, I mean, you had Henderson, Carson, Jacobs, and Sanders.
I don't think Jacobs and Sanders, Carson, I don't think they're going before Swift.
But I'll tell you what, there's even Mike Davis who's available, who is, and this is a PPR, right? That's a guy that's
this is half PPR.
Oh, it's half PPR. Still a starting running back there.
All right, so let's talk about best available, guys. We had DeAndre Swift, but then they suggest Mike Davis. Now look at our receivers. Lockett, Johnson. I mean, you really sacrificed here. Now, I think Adam Thielen is pretty undervalued because of last year.
Mahomes was gone already.
Mahomes was
gone. In the third round, okay.
Yes. I'm not, Seth, I got to tell you, I'm happy with this. I'm happy with grabbing Allen. You still have a Tyler Lockett there. You got Thielen, you got Kupp, you got Ayuk. You got some really good looking wide receiver twos available, and you just grabbed arguably the best or second best quarterback in the league, and you can still get a DeAndre Swift right here to lock in your flex.
Swift will not be available.
So let's say if he's not available,
even Thunder Smith agrees that Swift won't be available there. And
I agree as well.
Like simulators.
Yeah,
but we still want you to call in whether you're 13 or 30 or 70. Give us a call because you seem to have some good opinions here, or opinions. I don't know if they're good.
All right, so now we're in the fifth round. We have to go for a receiver here, right?
Well, not necessarily. You're talking about taking Swift here, and I don't have a problem with that.
Neither do I.
I'm. You know what, guys? Swift is not going to be available. I am restarting this.
Restarting the whole draft?
It'll take 2 seconds to go through this.
Well, they're going. The system here goes on by the ADP.
All right, so I'm going to grab Barkley here at 7 now. Okay, so now we're in the second round. Let's say we grab Gibson.
That's not the same as we had in the first one, right?
I know. Okay, third round. Here.
Keenan Allen, which is what we had before. Interesting.
Patrick Mahomes went off. Okay, now.
Yeah.
We can grab, again, Carson or Swift here, or Henderson, or Mike Evans, Robert Woods, Amari Cooper, or Josh Allen. This is where you wanted Josh Allen, right?
I would still do it.
So we'll grab Josh Allen.
And Swift is still going to be there because it's based on the same thing.
Yeah, Miles Sanders. It's almost the same. Jacobs, Sanders.
Right. So here, you know what, Seth? If you want to be more realistic, don't take Swift here. Let's assume he would be gone. So
right.
That's what I was saying. So don't take Swift and put in what would be available, which would be like if we wanted to go our third running back or flex, Mike Davis, who I'm not upset with.
Don't you want to go with a wide receiver here because you still are missing a starter?
Well, here's the deal.
Yeah, but if you have a flex, you may want to go with a third running back there.
And that's what I would, because look at just go back for a second. Go back to wide out. You could grab Mike Davis and get a starting running back in your flex. And coming back, I'm happy with any of Lockett, Thielen, Ayuk, Kupp. There's like 5 or 6 guys that to me are somewhat interchangeable. for me to still be able to get Mike Davis. You have all these guys in that tier. So I would wait, grab Mike Davis, and come back and get one of those 6 receivers I'm happy with. Because you've got this team here, the second to last team only has one running back. These other guys, yeah.
So we grab Mike Davis, and coming back around, we can grab any of these wide receivers. Is that what you would do here? Or
is Cooper Kupp not there? Oh, sorry.
Cooper Kupp is not there. Or
Jamar Chase. Is Tyler Boyd there?
We have tight ends. We have Mark Andrews, Hawkinson, Pitts available.
I would probably wait at that point.
Okay, so are you looking at T. Higgins? Are you looking at Galladay, Chase, Beckham? I mean, who's going to be your wide receiver 2 here?
Go back up for a second.
I don't have a problem taking Beckham here. Getting Beckham in the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6th round isn't,
Can you rely on him as your wide receiver 2? This is where I think you start looking back thinking, you know what? I should have grabbed a wide receiver 2.
Well, but not, something to me. So Cortland Sutton was injured last year. But if you go and you look at his production with Drew Lock, this guy was putting up nearly wide receiver 1 numbers. And it's looking like it's going to be Drew Lock. He's healthy. Cortland Sutton is a stud. And I think he's widely undervalued.
Will it be Sutton or Judy?
I just think that the connection has been there.
Okay, so your vote is Sutton. Brad's vote is Beckham.
Yeah, or I almost go with T. Higgins there. I mean, he's gonna.
I just hear such bad things out of what's going on in Cincinnati. The offensive line is just terrible, and Burrow is not looking good. He'll be fine. I know.
I don't know. I'm washing my hands of this draft because I think you guys messed up by grabbing Josh Allen.
Well, so does Thunder Smith.
Yeah, I look at that, and Mr. Smith has a very good point. Look what's left at quarterback.
But look at the difference. Look how many more points. Look how many more numbers there.
No. Time out. You project what Dak Prescott was doing before he got hurt.
Agreed, but he got hurt, and that's the problem. He's coming back off a major injury.
But he's fine. Haven't you watched Hard Knocks? He's got a shoulder issue, but he's fine.
I don't think
Russell Wilson,
Josh
Aaron Rodgers.
I don't think grabbing Josh Allen in the 4th round is a mistake.
I agree, because what did we lose? What did we lose by and that's the question. What did we lose by getting Josh Allen there? We still got Mike Davis, and I'm very happy with that.
You lost getting either
Amari Cooper, Robert Woods,
Mike Evans, Amari Cooper, Robert Woods. Either of those 3 guys would be very solid wide receiver 1s.
But for me, to get a Mike Davis and a Cortland Sutton, or a Mike Davis and we'll show the other wide receivers, is more value than just getting that Mike Evans or Cooper Kupp. So I look at the combined value that I'm getting from getting that guy, the starting running back, who's going to get you 6, 7, 8, 9 grabs a game, along with still getting, Cortland Sutton, T. Higgins, one of those guys. Those 2 together is better than what I would have sacrificed to get one of these guys.
Maybe it's the lawyer in me, but if you're going to throw out something like Mike Davis is going to get 7, 8, 9 grabs a game, how many grabs is Ridley going to get? How many grabs is Pitts going to get? How many grabs? I mean,
you're talking about a team that threw the ball 629 times last year. So this is the most throwing offense in football. And Mike Davis's strength, and he's going to run the ball too. All I'm saying, this is the bell cow, not bell cow, but he is the starting running back. They don't have much else there that they love behind him. So to me, it's a trade-off to not get the better receiver, to get Mike Davis and a receiver that might be a little bit less.
Yeah, look what happened with Todd Gurley last year. He was the bell cow running back.
But Gurley is not Mike Davis. Gurley was washed and used up.
Receivers. Scroll down just a little bit. Yeah, it's small on my screen. I don't know why, but let's see.
Robbie Anderson had his numbers last year were insane.
Here's your wide receivers.
I can't. Yeah, it's not coming up big on my screen, but that's okay. it's hard for me to see. But I just think grabbing.
If we're talking about our third receiver, I have no problem sitting here debating whether or not T. Higgins or Odell or Cortland Sutton. I have no problem with that debate. But as a wide receiver too, that's where I have the problem. And that's fine. I mean, yeah, we can disagree. And I pray that when we all draft together, you guys grab your quarterbacks early like Brad did last year. I'm happy with that. And then you can trade them to me, Brad.
I will. Like I did last year.
See, here's the thing: the way I look at it, right? Of these guys, you're going to be able to, because these drafts go 16 guys deep, right? You're going to be able to get 3 or 4 of these guys, right? You are. You're going to be able to go. Hold on a second. Go as you go down more. There are so many of these guys, right? Tyler Boyd, Brandon Cooks, DJ Chark. There's Stebo. There's so many of them that you can draft 3 or 4 of them, and what's going to happen is one of these guys is going to be a wide receiver too. There's no question. I mean, I can't say there's no question.
I don't mind the Josh Allen pick here, but keep in mind, where did Josh Allen get drafted last year? He was not highly rated last year because
no, he was highly rated. We just didn't like him. We thought that the experts were off. He was definitely,
but not in the number 2 quarterback. He was
going as the 7th quarterback,
10 or something like that.
Yes, the way that Brad wears his hat does tell us that he would absolutely be the first guy to draft a QB in a league.
Last year it was. We got to figure out who this is.
Brad, did you take this guy's parking spot or something?
Check this IP address and
holy shit!
We got to find this guy.
He hates you. This is probably Landsman, right?
Oh my god! All right, turn my hat around. All right.
So
that's awesome.
So guys, who do you want me to put on your lame team that I'm quitting on?
Odell Beckham.
Whatever, that's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, he was QB 7 or 8 last year. I'm just an easy target. When you have 2020, take his hat off.
Well, I'm wearing it the right way though, Durst.
No, it's okay. I don't take any offense there, Smith. But misguided, but nice.
Yeah, he says you're a nice guy, just misguided.
I guess it's okay because normally 2020 is the easy target or someone else in our league.
Yeah, Brad's not used to being the target here.
No, I don't mind. Obviously, Smith is too scared to call in. Or
you're going to try to guilt him into calling?
That's right. That's God. What I do.
All right, so here we came back around. We picked up Odell, and this is where I'm saying, like, to get Allen and Davis, and now we're going to be able to take some stabs at let's look at the wide receivers after this, right?
We're actually not going to be drafting now because we're going to save till next week.
We're going to stop here.
But just so we can see, we still have some good quality quarterbacks available. We have some wide receivers, maybe 2/3 available. We're getting close to the tight end grouping, although 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people have already taken tight ends, so that leaves 4 available. So are there 4 tight ends you can wait possibly at that point? But we'll talk about that.
But Seth, this really quick. You said 2 or 3 wide receivers. I disagree, man. There is a bunch of wide receivers available.
No, I said wide receiver 2/3s. People that
wide receiver 2/3s. Yeah. Yes, a bunch of wide receiver 2/3s available. Yes.
Okay. And we are back.
All right.
Okay, so let's do this, and we appreciate all the comments. And of course, if anybody has a comment, they're welcome to comment in YouTube Live or Facebook Live, or give us a call at 772-800-BUZZ. I'm worried about Kenneth. I hope.
I know.
I hope he's all right. This is probably the first show he hasn't called in on
in quite some time. Actually,
he sent us a message earlier, so we'll see what's going on with that.
Maybe he fell asleep.
Wouldn't that be funny if Kenneth was posing as Thunderlips? I'm going to call him Thunderlips, by the way, because I'm not going to say the full name.
That's why I call him Mr. Smith.
Mr. Smith, there you go.
Okay, excellent. So now I want to talk about teammates, right? There are a few teams where there are 2, sometimes 3 wide receivers that are very, very close in fantasy production projections. And I'm curious where you guys fall in this grouping as far as who you would take, right? So the first one we have in Dallas. CeeDee Lamb really showed what he can do last year. Amari Cooper has been showing us what he can do for a long time, especially when he got to Dallas. He just seemed to be the guy that he was drafted by the Raiders to be and never was. What are you doing? Right now, the consensus is Amari Cooper, right? But they're also saying that CeeDee Lamb has been having a really good camp.
Yep.
So where do
Actually,
you
they're going
guys?
off about Gallup too. Are you saying that? They're crazy about Michael Gallup right now.
Yeah, that was a dud last year.
Yeah.
Right,
So right now, ADP wise, right?
They've also said Amari Cooper is a little banged up.
Well, that's why Amari Cooper's fallen in ADP. So Amari Cooper has a 43 ADP, CeeDee Lamb a 31. But in my opinion, I have Amari as 12 and CD is 13.
Yeah,
just because that team throws so much. Yeah,
I think with the injury, I'm going to go with CeeDee Lamb here. I think he's younger. I think Amari Cooper is going to be much more injury prone. I think you're going to have a consistency out of Lamb that Amari Cooper is going to be more up and down. I don't think he'll have the consistent games. And that's why me personally, I'm going with CD right now over Cooper.
The same reason. And the only reason why is injuries. I mean, if Amari was healthy and you can count on him to stay healthy, which I don't think he's had a single season in the NFL where he hasn't missed at least a game. So for that reason only, I'm also all aboard the Lamb Fest.
All right. And Mr. Smith says he likes CD better overall, but I like Cooper for his ADP. That's true. It's a good ADP. If I'm taking a Cowboys wide receiver, that's a 5th round ADP, although you'd be busy taking Josh Allen. So
I
go ahead, Loopy, and write this down so that we know that I'm the lone wolf here with regard to Amari Cooper.
I also think I think Cooper's going to go a little higher in drafts just because of his name and his history compared to CeeDee Lamb. Not in every draft, not in drafts that, there's a lot of homework done, but in drafts that there isn't, you're going to see Cooper go before CeeDee Lamb.
Okay. So here's the next group of teammates on a terrible team. We have T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, Jamar Chase. We know that T. Higgins was coming on at the end of last year. He started out with a much higher ADP when the summer started because everyone's like, this is the guy. His ADP has now dropped to 70. Actually, Jamar Chase's ADP is high. It's at 64.9 or close to 65. So people like Chase better than Higgins in these fantasy drafts, and we're not talking about dynasty either. Tyler Boyd seems to be the redheaded stepchild here, not getting much love. He's got an ADP of 98. Quite frankly, I think Tyler Boyd is still undervalued.
Yes,
and I think out of these 3, I think Tyler Boyd is the guy that I would pick just because he's going to be in that slot and he's going to be grabbing passes. He's going to be the guy that when people are about to kill Burrow because he has 1.3 seconds to throw the ball, it's going to go to Boyd.
All Tyler Boyd does every year seem to grab 90-plus balls. So I cannot agree with you more. Of these 3, especially 90 or 100. I got 2 hands, so I do a lot. So all about, and when he's got his hat backwards, he does a lot as well. So yeah, I'm all about TB on this one.
Do you agree, Brad?
We're going to go there. So, again, almost the same reason as CeeDee Lamb. I think Boyd's going to be the most consistent. And, there were games last year where he's grabbing 8, 9, 10 catches a game. And he's getting the, especially in a PPR or a half PPR, I think Boyd is the guy to go to. Higgins is going to get the 3 for 105 and a touchdown because he's going to get that long catch. But the grabs, I think Boyd is the guy to go with. And now, you guys know I'm big on Jamar Chase, but he's not having a great camp. That doesn't mean he's not going to have a good season. But I think the value right now, Boyd is the guy, just like you were saying.
Yeah, just remember, Jamar Chase sat out a whole year before coming into the NFL. So he doesn't have, he's still getting his legs.
Right.
Okay, the next group of teammates, guys: Claypool, Juju, Deontay.
This might be the
know
toughest wide receiver question in fantasy.
Yeah, and look, they all have the potential of getting you 100 yards, 6 catches every game, maybe a touchdown or two.
Right. Yeah, Claypool, by the way, had an injury. I don't know if it was yesterday or today, but they had to carry him off the field with an ankle. But they're saying it doesn't look bad. They'll give him some rest, and he should be fine for week 1.
Mhm.
Claypool, Deontay Johnson, by the way, has an ADP of 50. Claypool 67, Juju 84. So that's how they're looking in fantasy drafts right now. And quite frankly, I like Deontay here. I had him last year. I would grab him again. I think he's the least talked about out of these three, which is good if you want him. But his ADP is still, hovering around that 50 mark. Is that somebody that I'm willing to grab in the 6th round? Yes. I don't think there's a doubt about that.
Yeah, and he's definitely the target monster there. I think Juju, from an ADP standpoint, has the best value. I actually have Juju ahead of Claypool. I think Claypool is that down the field presence, and Roethlisberger is just not going as down the field as good as he once was. So I like Juju for the ADP, but I think Deontay is the focal point. If there is any kind of a focus point for a wide receiver on that team, he gets the most targets.
Yeah, I would tell you, I picked up Claypool after he had that big, that big game last year, and it was a little frustrating. He was getting, it seemed like a touchdown every week, and he was getting some catches, but he had so many targets. There were so many, and I think I talked about this a few weeks ago. Roethlisberger he was peppering him with throws, and they just seemed to be a little off to him. Now, their timing was off or something, but he was getting open. And when I talked about this a few weeks ago, if they just tighten up a little bit, their connection is going to be really good. And I think he could be a guy that's getting 6 to 8 grabs a game and getting in that, 70 to 100 yards a game with a touchdown.
You're talking about Claypool?
Claypool, yeah.
It's funny, all three of us are. You said, who did you say? Deontay?
I said Deontay. I like Claypool over Schuster. That's mine. And I think Mr. Smith made a good point about Juju actually having one of the lowest catch rates. So I'm not a fan. I think that Claypool will be peppered a lot more. He's not just going to be the down the field guy. But I think Deontay Johnson is really going to be the one to get the majority of the catches. Let's talk about our next grouping, A.J. Brown or Julio Jones, right? So with the blockbuster trade, with Julio Jones going to Tennessee, they no longer have Davis. They no longer have Humphreys. They're looking at Julio Jones now as the number 2. They don't throw to the tight end. They don't have Jonnu Smith. Who do they have? They have Frisker. They don't really have anybody catching the ball other than these 2 guys.
Yeah.
So where do you fall on this? A.J. Brown, guy has got 2 games last year in the top 5 of wide receivers, but for the rest of it, he was okay. He worked out, but can Julio stay healthy?
And Julio hasn't even really been practicing much in the preseason.
Right. He's a little banged up. Yeah. So for the sheer fact that A, Julio never stays healthy, B, they did get rid of Davis and Jonnu Smith. And we know this is not Tannehill doesn't drop back and throw the ball 39 times a game. It's going to be 25, 28 attempts. But the fact that it's going to be AJ, Julio, and like you said, Frisker, right? I mean, I'm definitely, for me, I would much rather have Brown because that's where the connection has been for the last 2-3 years with Tannehill. Julio is a newcomer. He's older. He's a little banged up. There's less mouths to feed. It's a much higher ADP cost. What are the ADPs on this? Do you know? I know A.J. Brown is like 11th or 12th wide out off the board or something
A.J. Brown is an ADP right now of 25.5.
Mm-hmm.
And Julio Jones at 39.7.
All day long. I'd much rather have A.J. at that ADP than Julio. I just think he's the favorite target there. More balls coming his way, and Julio is just not dependable.
I think this is like a 1 and a 1A type situation. It's very unique. Like you don't have this. I can't even think of another team at the moment that you have two guys like this. I know they're out there. Maybe there's a few, but
Thielen and Jefferson, maybe.
Yeah, there's not a lot. Jones is such a talent, and I don't think he's done. He just one of these guys is always going to have to be one-on-one, right? They're not going to be able to be double teaming both of these guys, especially not with Derrick Henry.
I agree about that. Yeah.
Okay, so one of them's going to be open all the time. I think they're going to be pretty close at the end of the year, providing they both stay healthy. And AJ Brown hasn't been, perfect health either. But yeah, if Julio can get on the field and stay healthy, I think he's got a big season ahead of him.
Right. This could be like a Lockett Metcalf type situation as well. Very much like that.
Okay.
Which is always frustrating because you never know which guy is going to have a big week. Is that what you're saying?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, yes, and that's really on Russell Wilson because he's the type of quarterback that will look at the matchup and just pepper it all game. Yeah.
Right.
All right, so the last one for the evening, we get out of the wide receiver teammate group and we get to a running back teammate group. And this is an interesting one with Raheem Mostert, who's been battling injuries, or Trey Sermon, the rookie who's been getting rave reviews in camp. What do you guys do? Quite personally, I stay away from San Francisco running backs right now. What about you guys?
I think the San Francisco running back, whichever one seems to be on the field, seems to do well.
Right.
So if I'm drafting Mostert, it's going to be, I'm assuming his ADP is around 40 maybe?
ADP at 58.
58. Okay. If I'm getting Mostert, I'm also going to try to handcuff him with Sermon.
But that's the problem. That's the problem, Brad, is that you say handcuff, and I think we're back to that 1A, 1B. A handcuff I look at as Ezekiel Elliott and Pollard, right? That's a handcuff because you want to make sure if one gets hurt, the other one does well. In this case, I think you're going to get 9 carries from Mostert, 9 carries from Chase Sermon every game. And that's my biggest concern because even when Mostert was healthy last year, he only got the ball 14, 15 times. He was running for 60 to 70 yards a game. Yes, there were games where he had, a touchdown, but for the most part, even when healthy, I don't know.
I again, just like Smith says, until Mostert gets hurt, right? He's like a proven guy that he's going to get hurt, which is an awful way to look at a running back, but it just happens.
But he's also proven that only on 9, 10, 12 carries a game, he puts up RB2, if not RB1 numbers. So I happen to agree with you.
Who does?
I had Mostert last year. In the games that he was in, it seemed like every week he broke off a 60-yarder for a touchdown. I think he is clocked as the fastest running back in football. Mostert when he plays is amazing.
Mostert when he played, the best he did was the best he did was 90 yards on 11 carries.
But what about receptions though?
Receptions, he had 4 in week 1. He actually finished as the 6th best running back in week 1. He had 4 receptions for 95 yards and a touchdown. But after that, he never had more than 3 receptions in a game and never had more than 29 yards receiving in a game. I just take a look at his games, and I understand what you're saying. And there were a few times where you look at highlights and you're like, oh, wow, this guy's really great. But the truth of the matter is, and like with these San Francisco running backs, I don't know. I'm staying away, but that's just me.
I agree with you. It's a situation to be wary of. I'd rather have other players. But in the question of who would I rather have here, it's a tough question depending upon ADP and an ADP of 58 on Mostert. Is that what you're saying? So 6th round on Mostert, or Sermon is what? His ADP?
Sermon is not even being drafted in some leagues, but he's going to start now to get drafted more because I think people are starting to see that.
A little bit. Yeah.
I would take the chances on Mostert in the 6th round, because if he stays healthy, I think you've got a very decent RB2 on your hands, especially in a half or full point PPR. But like Cyclops is saying, I love the idea of backing it up with Sermon, because what you've now done is you have locked in the backfield. Mostert goes down, you've now got Sermon. You've locked it in. You have an RB2 there.
So actually, Trey Sermon has an ADP of 99.6, and he actually is right in between. They have Mostert and then Sermon right 2 after, and the person they have between them is Damian Harris. Are you taking Mostert or even Sermon before Damian Harris?
No,
probably not. Damian Harris has been looking good. He is. It is his backfield. That probably not there. No.
Okay. All right. So guys, that's all the teammates that we have. We're gonna bring in Loops right now to say goodbye. I think we're done, and next week we'll go through some more of the mock draft. But I want to draft a new team, because unless we want to talk about what happens if you mess up and you need to fix it later on in the draft, maybe we'll do that. So we'll do round 7, 8, and 9 next week. We'll also probably have more information based on the preseason games.
Right.
We're hoping that Mr. Smith will rejoin us again next week to critique what Brad's wearing, and it should be an interesting.
That 2020 won't be with us next week, right?
I will be in Hawaii. That is correct. I will not be here next week.
Oh, listen to you.
We don't care.
All you had to do was say you weren't going to be there. You didn't have to brag about being.
I had to say I was going to Hawaii.
The loops to your homework. You're in. You're stepping in.
And Cyclops he's going to wear a fedora next week.
Hey, I subbed. Anybody understand that?
All right. So Brad still says, "Hey, it's not about me tonight." That's awesome. So I want to thank Mr. Smith. I want to thank Kyle. I hope Kenneth is doing okay. Thank you guys. Appreciate it. We're looking forward to doing the show again next Tuesday. Not Keith, because he will be in Hawaii. In case anybody missed that. And good night, everyone.
Cowabunga.